Welcome back to Chris's Purple Library.
So before we get this video started, Elliot has found himself in a bit of a situation, bit of a circumstance. I don't know. I think Elliot needs to repent is what I think.
My name is Imagine with an E. Imagine with an E. Okay.
Say hello to SMA and little Eugene. Eugene, you can't deny. Beautiful SMA. This curl pattern. Look. Elliot has 2 more children. So I need to really talk with him and understand what is going on. And he might need a chaperone. I don't know what that chaperone is going to look like, but this children's is getting out of control. It's Boba Time. Everything we need. Look at that. It's Boba Time. We're going to talk about a whole lot of books.
Honey child.
Y'all already know. Y'all know. I hope the lighting is good. Is the lighting good? I'm not moving the camera again. Oh, honey, we're not doing that again. Hey book unicorns, my name is Cici. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're just gonna talk about the recent reads. I haven't done a formal wrap up recent reads video, and so we're just gonna do it today. So I'm gonna break this video up over 3 parts. I will have chapters as well if you want to skip around. Reading journal. I decided to do a binder reading journal this year. I did have an aesthetic reader journal, and I showed a bit of that in my 2023 reading goals video, so I'll link that in the cards. First, I'm gonna talk about the books I read in February, middle grade March, and then March mystery madness, complete madness. I read 12 books in February, but one of those books is a carryover from a series that I actually finished in March, but I'm gonna include it in the February because it's part of a series. These books are in no particular order. My Goodreads will be linked below so you can see further details and thoughts about these books. I actually got caught up on a latest series. Who did it? The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman and The Bullet That Missed, The Thursday Murder Club. These are my favorite advanced age, aka senior citizens, say whatever they want to say. I love these characters. I gave the first book 3 stars, but The Man Who Died Twice and The Bullet That Missed were like 4 stars. The mysteries were so great in both of these books. In the first book, the characters were not as fleshed out. Like, I couldn't really see who was who in the actual Thursday Murder Club. Granted, when I read the first book, I listened to audio, and I think because of the dialect and the accent of the narrator, it was hard for me to really follow, really get the details of what was happening. And generally, I understood what was happening because I was kiki-keying in that one too. Don't get me kiki-keying about that tight skin. Let me move on. Let me move on. Let me go. Both of these books were following these advanced age sleuths as they sleuthed through the town. The mystery was intriguing. The romance at the end of book 2, we need to know. I cannot wait for 4th book to be released. I'm not sure if there's a date or when it will be released, but I'm really excited. So we can put that on my goals. I finished this series. I'm up to date on this series, but how my series is set up. Be a win is a win. The Curse of Misty Wayfair. Y'all, and I've heard so many of my friends talk about this book. So here's the thing. I'll read grim, dark books that have very dark themes or dark characters, but I don't particularly like spooky books. I stay away from those. I'm a scaredy cat. I heard a lot about Jamie Jo Wright's book. I really want to see if I can just go outside my comfort zone, and the fact that Jamie Jo Wright, Christian thriller, suspense, kind of eerie books, I felt like, well, what other genre would it be safe than a secular horror or secular spooky book? I really enjoyed Curse of Misty Wayfair. I gave it 4 stars. There were a couple of unsettling points. Did I purposely read the story in the daytime when the sun was high? Absolutely. I just recently finished Echo Among the Stones. I'm really excited to read more of Jamie Jo Wright's books. Definitely a book outside of my comfort zone, and I'm glad I took that leap. So y'all, your girl just flew through the Left Behind series in February. Yeah, Left Behind Dissertation. I read book 3 through 12. Book 12, I actually finished it in March, but I'm going to include it here because I do want to talk about this series as a whole. The Left Behind series is a well-loved series. It is an end times fictional story. What would happen to those left behind after Christ raptures his church and faced with insurmountable odds and new in the faith for stealing his daughter Chloe, face the world hanging in the balance of God's wrath and the end of the age. Oh my goodness. I read the first 5 books the first time in 2012, but I had not rededicated my life to Christ at that point, so I didn't finish it. Then in 2015, I had recently rededicated my life, and so I was looking for going back to some of those old books that I read years ago, and Left Behind was one of the series I read. So I read the entire series in 2016, and actually reading Where Are the Missing People in December by Jimmy Evans, I just felt led and inspired to read the Left Behind series in January. Kingdom Come is the final book in the Left Behind series. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I am still in a Left Behind hangover. Glorious appearing took your girl out. I will say this can be a very hard-hitting series. It's very intense, emotionally charged, very thrilling, very exciting, and biblically sound as far as the prophecies that unfold in Revelation and across the scriptures. Absolutely one of my favorite series of all time, and I just highly recommend it. I gave every book 5 stars except for book 10. 10 kind of was the leveling out of said event from book 1 to book 10, just on an intense incline, and things are happening. There's so much. I need to take a So let me tell y'all, so homemade boba is really good, and the boba kit that I use, I got it from Walmart. Making homemade boba is great. If I had to choose between this boba and the Trader Joe boba, I think the boba just tastes better. And I actually add coffee to my boba. I did not add coffee to this because this is my first time having this actual brand, but it's good. For a homemade boba, your girl didn't feel like stopping today, so. The thing with boba, it'll get stuck. You see how it get that? And the boba gets stuck in the straw, and then you be trying to hope you get some. The intensity in this series was just so profound, and I think it's so timely given the things that are happening in our world. Prophecy is unfolding left and right, but reading this series was so impactful. Character beats was so impactful and so thought-provoking and so convicting. I felt very convicted reading this series. That was necessary for me, so I really am grateful to the Lord for that. I'm so glad that I read this series. For content warnings, there is violence. There are some very hard-hitting things that happen throughout the series. It is very grounded, I believe very truthful, absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend.
I highly recommend it.
So, next, I'm going to talk about the books I read for Middle Grade March. Krista from Books and Jam. Krista, you be jamming, girl. Every year, she is a huge sponsor, and her group of friends are huge sponsors of Middle Grade March. This year, she asked me to be a part of Middle Grade March, and now she talked about my favorite books. So I'll link that video down below. So there were so many great middle grade recommendations, and a lot of these I got from that video. We love to see it. We thank God for it. I love me some middle grade. First book I read was Alone by Megan Freeman. I gave 3 stars to this book. Book was told in narrative verse. I found the poetry really beautiful. I thought the setting was intriguing and immersive. Story is about a little girl who is left behind. There is an emergency evacuation that happens in her town, and this young girl is left behind, and she's completely alone in her town, so she has to figure out how to survive. That in of itself was very interesting as far as the setting and the things that she did to help with her survival. However, I think for me, I don't think it's appropriate for middle grade readers. I think it's probably more geared to young adult or teen readers. So I think the themes overall were just a little too hard hitting for a middle grade reader. I didn't appreciate the curse words. What they need to be saying those words for?
Absolutely not.
Somebody get the soap. Izzy Newton and the Smart Squad by Valerie Tripp. Y'all, I got this because that pretty little brown girl on the cover. This is just a cute and precious story about Izzy Newton, Ellie Einstein, Marie Carey, Charlie Derwin, and Gina Carver. They set out on a mystery-filled outdoor adventure. So the Smart Squad is science, technology, engineering, and math. So they solve their mysteries using the scientific method, and I think that's unique and interesting. I love the cover of the book. The little nerd in me leaped for joy. Restart by Gordon Corman. This book was so graciously gifted to me. Graceful reads, hey girl, hey. With this book, Chase doesn't remember falling on the roof. He doesn't remember hitting his head. So he comes back to school and everyone's side-eyed him. So now he got to figure out what everyone knows about him. So he's reconciling who he used to be, and he can decide on who he wants to be now. He has made some interesting choices from who he was before. So who is Chase? Who does he want to be? I had fun really getting to know and following Chase as a main character and his unexpected group of friends. I didn't particularly like the portrayal of Chase's father in this story. Yeah, he was given level 10 jerk. I understand why the author may have opted for this kind of character. And y'all, let me tell y'all, probably the best name I have ever read on page. One of the characters' names was Shoshana. Y'all better leave Shoshana alone. Y'all better leave her. I really enjoyed this. 3.5 stars. It was a lot of fun. My my baby girl, Honest June. I think she's gonna be one of my favorite middle grade characters. I'm enjoying this series by Tina Wells. Hey y'all, Editor Chrissy here. To Amanda, that she so graciously gifted me book 2, The Show Must Go On, Honest June. Your girl was on a book buyer ban and the struggle was real. I had the shakes. I had the itches, huh? But she be knowing, so thank you, sister. The first book about June, and she's a bit of a people pleaser, doesn't want to tell anyone her truth, and she just wants to make everybody happy, but that's usually to her detriment and to those who are around her. And so her fairy godmother, Veronica, said, girl,
You better stop telling these lies now.
so she sprinkled a little fairy dust on her and boom, boom, boom. Book 2, this time June is trying out for The Wiz, one of my favorite Broadway shows of all time. I grew up on The Wiz. The end of this book, though, she got herself in shenanigans now. The theme of this is how you tell the truth. It's important to tell the truth, but it's also about how you tell the truth, and that's a big lesson that June learns here. We think at the rate she's going, I don't know if she's really learned much of anything. Them consequences getting her. I gave this 5 stars. I love this book. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I actually picked up book 3, and I just love the artwork and the covers. Illustration is just absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend. The next book I read was Land of Loss by K.A. Applegate. This is the second book in the Everworld series. But this is one of my favorite fantasy series I read growing up. And so I was really thrilled to reread it again to see where it actually lands today. I gave this 3.5 stars. Completely a nostalgia read for me, not for everybody. Definitely want to look up content warnings. The content in this book is more for an older teen, young adult reader. I would not say this is appropriate for middle grade readers now like it was in the 90s when I read it. Child, the 90s was the wild, wild west. As you go on, this book is heavily sated with 90s colloquialisms or slang and terminologies, very dated. So didn't grow up in the 90s, it ain't gonna make any sense. Can kind of see why this kind of fell off. It has dated itself, but for what it's worth, I key through it because I'm a 90s kid. Before the Ever After by Jacqueline Woodson. I enjoy Jacqueline Woodson's narrative verse. I read Brown Girl Dreaming last year, gave it 5 stars, and so I was really excited. In this story, we're following ZJ. His dad is an athletic hero, football star, but he's now having issues with his memory. And although he was charming, talented, professional football star, beloved in his community, he's having issues. He can't really sustain a thought, and how his father is contemplating this new reality and this new condition that has caused an issue and a stigma, but it's due to sustained head trauma from playing football. This was a very impactful read, very refreshing to see this kind of discussion. I really enjoyed this. The poems captivated me. I love Jacqueline's portrait, how she structures her poems. Absolutely wonderful, and explores such a vast range of feelings: family, friendship, grief, love, laughter, music, so many great themes, and I highly recommend this book. A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine Le Guin. I don't think I said that right. This is a reread for me. I read this book when I was younger. I remembered why I love this book so much. Christian allegory and science fiction and fantasy. This book had a huge impact on me. It's so fantastical and very high themes about family, trust, about love and friendship, fear, about faith. So phenomenal. 5 stars. I highly recommend this. The City of Ember by Jean Dupree.
Wow, 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 wow.
This story is a middle grade dystopian, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The City of Ember was created by builders to contain everything needed for humanity's survival, but now food is running out, the lights is flickering, but 2 kids, Lena and Dune, are on a journey to figure out a way to save the city. I just thoroughly enjoyed this series, and the cliffhanger. She's leading me off the cliffhanger cliff. I got to find out. I need to know. And I enjoyed the themes of standing up for yourself, finding the truth, and coming of age. A dystopian gem. A series of an unfortunate events, the bad beginning. This was just a bop. I want to thank my Cici for sending this to me. She sent me the first 3 books in this series. It's one of her favorites of all time, and I can see why. I gave this 5 stars. But what makes it so charming is that it's a very grounded, transparent look about a series of an unfortunate events of these 3 children and their lives, and how it's not always a happy ending. And I think it's important to kind of to read these kinds of books for other children and other people who have experienced tragedy and loss to feel seen, and for those who haven't really experienced the depth and the width of all of that. From the first time you see the children on page, they receive terrible news, and now they're adopted by this wretched man. And how can this happen? These smart, beautiful children, but their resiliency, their love and interdependency on one another, and how they really went about doing the most responsible thing as children. And I just was so enamored with how smart and how in tune voicing needs and their concerns to the other adults around them. 5 stars. I highly recommend this. Definitely want to continue in the series. And it really wasn't that long, but I was sitting there like, Lemony told me, so I don't know why I was shocked. My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich by Ibi Zoboi. Y'all know. Let me just go ahead and look at my notes here. And I'm not gonna act like, because I get all on a tangent and then we'll still be sitting here. So a tip with boba: if you're making homemade boba, just make sure that the packet of boba actually gets hot thoroughly. So you might want to let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes so that the boba is warm, because if not, then the texture be off and it don't taste like the boba like it's supposed to taste. Like, I ain't let mine sit, so we just kind of getting around the boba. But the milk tea part is delicious. It's delicious. I gave this book 2.5 stars, but I rounded it up to 3 stars. I really enjoyed the mid-80s Harlem, New York hip-hop culture setting, as well as the Star Trek and the Star Wars references. It gave me the nerdy goodness.
Captain's Log 040623.
If you know, you know. The reading experience was grounded and spoke to a time that had a bit of nostalgia. And although the main character, her name is, what's her name? Lord have mercy. Ebony Grace. This story is about Ebony Grace. Did I explain these books to y'all? I'm gonna link the books in the description if I'm sorry. It's the summer of 1984, and Ebony Grace, who lives in Huntsville, Alabama, is going to spend a few weeks with her dad in Harlem, New York. So she's a country girl, going to New York. While she's with her father, her mother is dealing with her grandfather. Her grandfather works at the NASA space station in Alabama, and she and her grandfather have their imagination station, and they imagine what it would be like to be in space. Grace goes to Harlem, immediately stands out against the urban setting of Harlem, New York, pretty much goes through a culture shock. So that was a very interesting setting. So I really like coming of age theme, although I like the character of Ebony Grace. Very spunky, very sassy, highly intelligent. Her character came across pretty confusing for me. Reading this, I thought she had a neurotypical condition, or I thought she was autistic. I realized that the transition wasn't happening in her head, but these are things that Grace was actually saying. Everyone around her calling her crazy. She was ostracized for that. In fact, I thought that the author was going to address that at some point, and I would have appreciated if the author would have kind of addressed that in some way, but because that was left out, very, very confusing as to what's going on with Grace, it kind of shifted the tone and the voice of the story. It was quite jarring for me. I didn't really get what the message that Ivy was conveying to the audience, but maybe that could just be a me thing, that I may have missed the theme of it. I think this is a bit too mature for middle grade readers. There was a lot of activity and mature content that I just did not agree with, and although that experience for some people in life, I think it was not handled with as much care as it could have been from middle grade. Before a mature adult, it's fine. There's nothing crazy, but for a middle grade reader, But the cover though, Cici's Journal by Jarvis Joplin. This is a graphic novel following Cici. I read the first book in Cici's Journal last year, where I gave it 4 stars. I gave this book 4 stars as well. And we're following Cici again. In the first book, Cici is with her friends and she's trying to solve this very interesting mystery, and that continues again. So Cici's a little bit older here. She's about 12. I appreciated that Cici has grown a bit, and you see that in her character. I love how she still continues to sleuth, but I can see that she's applied a lot of the lessons that she learned from book 1. I love artwork and the graphic design in this. There were aspects of the story that I didn't particularly care for, but I still enjoyed the main themes of healing, broken heart, and the grieving process. So content, want to let you know there is a lot of talk about grief, processing grief. There's death of a loved one. Just want to that out there for you if that's going to be a bit of a hinge point or something you want to keep in mind. I had a great time. Cici is charming. The artwork just So this next book, a bit of a surprise for me, and I just snuck it in because it became available on my Libby app. So I said, well, let me just take a listen to it to see what I think. And that's Queen of the Tiles by Hannah Alkeet. I gave this 3 stars. This is kind of if the Queen's Gambit met Scrabble. This is kind of a mystery YA, so I'm going to categorize it as that. So this is set in Scrabble competition, but when a teen girl is forced to investigate the death of her best friend a year after her Instagram comes back to life, and all these cryptic posts and messages, she's trying to solve this mystery about who really killed her friend. Messages suggesting that Tina's death wasn't as straightforward as everyone thought, and maybe someone at the Scrabble competition has something to do with that. So yeah, I gave this 3 stars. This was okay. I didn't expect anything one way or another. I went in pretty clear-headed about it, but it was fairly enjoyable. I really like the setting of the mystery being at a Scrabble competition. That's such a unique premise for a story, so I really like that. But that was probably the most interesting part of it to me, but definitely the run-of-the-mill YA fiction stories. It was fun. It was a good time. 3 stars. I did have 2 books this month, and these were 2 mysteries that I intended to read. First one was Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. I DNF'd this book at 40% for friends who are assassins, and they have been doing their assassin thing for years, and now they're retiring, trying to retire in peace. Somebody trying to get them. Now they have to use their old school talents and touch in with that technology they ain't used to figure out who's trying to take them out. But I DNF'd this at 40%. I could see what Deanna was doing. This is no slouch on Deanna Raybourn because I have another book I'm reading from her that I really enjoy, but I didn't really connect with this all that much. I think I prefer the Thursday Murder Club Senior Citizens better. Oop, child, I said it though. I found myself not really caring about their plight or the mystery. I was genuinely pretty bored, but I really like Deanna Raybourn's writing. Then as far as content warning, there's some explicit language, violence, and there's a sapphic romance that happens as well. And I don't know if it's because I've read those kinds of military secreto assassin type books years ago, and so I might just be washed out from that type of setting and that type of trope. So I think that could be it. In addition to, I didn't really think it was that entertaining for me, and I just can't be asked. If it fall, it fall. The second book I DNF, I was actually a little heartsick about it because I really wanted to like it. I really did. You know, we can't be wasting time. The Whispered Word, Secret Book and Scone Society by Elliot Adams. I first read Elliot Adams from The Murder and the Mystery Suite, which is the book retreat mystery series, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in love. But this series follows for a group of friends, the main character Nora and her group of friends. So they actually make these gift bags that they give to the community, and it's kind of like a secret thing that they do, and they solve mysteries as well. I think the tone of this was too somber for me. It was just a little too sad. I learned something new about my cozy mystery taste. I actually prefer lighthearted cozy mysteries. I don't want to read a cozy mystery that's really sad, like that has a sad tone to it. Or that I don't mind if like something sad happens in the book. So I was like,
I don't know.
it's not you, Ellery, it's me. I still think it's worth checking out to see if that's something that you like, or it might be a vibe or not, but lean into it and see. But it just didn't work for me. But hey,
If it fall, it fall.
now we're gonna continue on the mysteries that I did enjoy. Woo, y'all, this video is long. They ain't tell me. Woo-wee. Peril in Paris by Reese Bowen. I love Lady Georgiana. Give me more, give me more. This is the latest book in the Her Royal Spyness series. I've read sporadically, but I do want to go back and read all of the other books and kind of catch up with them.
Girl.
Or you can read them all together, but there are other mysteries that have occurred that kind of alluded to certain things, because I don't think I've read anything that has spoiled me. In this one, Lady Georgiana and her husband Darcy are on their way to Paris. Georgiana's glamorous friend Belinda is working with Coco Chanel in Paris for her new line. Darcy says, hey girl, I got some work in Paris. Why don't you go hang out with Belinda? But Darcy is a spy, so he probably in meetings or anything like that. Yeah, he's probably sleuthing too. The story was really good. With Reese Bowman's books, 85% of it is set up and setting and food, and it's really cozy, but it's still a mystery. And I just love how Reese just kind of balances the two. So I would not say that this series is a cozy mystery. So the mystery of itself can get a little darker, but the food and the setting, roaring 20s vibe, and it's just
All the goodness that I need. I love it. I love it. I love it.
the bougie of it all, y'all. The bougie. All That Is Secret by Patricia Raybon. This is set in 1923 and follows Professor Annalise Spain, theologian at a Chicago Bible college, but she receives a cryptic telegram from Denver to solve a mystery of the murder of her lost father. A black woman searching for answers in the city run by the KKK. Yeah. It's pretty intense, I would say. But she is inspired by her love of Sherlock Holmes. And so I found that very charming. There's definitely some Sherlock Holmes references. And in fact, there's like a Sherlock Holmes quote at the beginning of each chapter. And you know there's got to be a love interest in here too. Sleuthing around Denver, trying to figure out the mysteries that are beholden to them. It was so refreshing. I gave this 3.5 stars, but I rounded it up to 4 stars. And it was captivating, grounded. It was just a very good mystery. Faith elements really shine through, especially at the end. And I can appreciate the main character's faith journey. Her faith has been shaken from the things that she's experienced in her life. But by the end, her journey is so inspiring and encouraging. The second book, I think, will be out this month if it's not out already. And I'm really excited to continue this. And I highly recommend this. 4 stars. Bethany Brings Books really like this as well. Let me tell y'all, there's a scene in this, the church scene. I need to be on the front row. Can I be an usher in that church service? Because that church service was live. Julie Klassen, The Bridge to Belle Island. This follows Benjamin Booker, who pretty big mistake and never trusting a beautiful woman. Benjamin, he got himself into some serious shenanigans falling behind that pretty face. But when an old friend is killed and his senior partner isn't satisfied with the firm, he asks Benjamin to investigate. Evidence takes him to the Thames. How you say this? The Thames. But Benjamin, bless his heart. And then you're also following Isabel Wider, who is the Belle of the island. Lived a pretty much a productive but protected life. Island is shrouded in mystery. Folks dying every left and right. Booker trying to figure out who did it. Isabel's like, why you got me a suspect? I don't know. They don't say it like that. It's very Regency air. It's not given Southern. I really like this book. This was my first Julie Klassen. I had a nice time reading it. I really enjoyed the Regency era and the English countryside. What I really liked about this was how Julie Klassen deals with mental health. Faith aspects were really good in this. I really appreciated that. The mystery wasn't as thrilling for me, but that's okay. Some of my book friends recommended to try some more Julie Klassen. If there's a Julie Klassen book that you think I might like that has more mystery and is a little more thrilling, just leave it in the comments. I'll check it out. And the final book I read for Mystery March, book 2 in the Veronica Speedwell mysteries, A Perilous Undertaking. I actually finished this first 2 days of April, but I'm going to include it here again because it does fall under Mystery March Madness. I actually started it at the end of March. I couldn't quite finish it, but that's fine. It's fine. In London, 1887, Victorian adventures of Veronica Speedwell, and she meets the mysterious Lady Sunridge, who begs her to save an art patron named Miles Ramsford from execution. Ramsford has been convicted of a murder of his mistress, Artemisia. This got tea, y'all. But Lady Sandridge isn't all she seems. So Veronica Speedwell and the Brody Stoker set off to figure out who done did it. It's the banter for me, y'all. I gave this 4 stars. The mystery was exciting, and I'm really looking forward to reading the next one. I will say for content, there is some sexual innuendos, and there's no explicit scenes. The mystery, the setting of 1887 London, just everything we need. And Veronica Speedwell is literally the sassiest and one of the wittiest characters. I really enjoyed it. Her and Stoker, their synergy and their friendship is beautiful to watch and to see their friendship perhaps evolve into more. I'm excited to read the next one. Deanna be knowing what she doing. Past couple months have been really great. I really enjoyed a lot of the books that I read. So if you've made it this far, I really thank you. If you made it this far. Let me know if your favorite book you've been reading. Tell me what your least favorite book was. Let me know the tea. I finished a whole cup of boba. Thank the Lord for that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.